G'day to all my friends and family, and welcome to this episode of Jim's 5am Club. I'm here at Northmead, down here at the North Rocks Dam, and about to embark on a new trail. Haven't been on this trail before, but it's known as the Murray-Yana track. And as you can see here from the sign, there is a bit of a detour which is happening. So what I'll do is I'll jump onto it and see where it takes me, and do a book summary along the way like we normally do, so that we can enjoy the scenery, showcase the beauty of suburban Sydney, and also overlay it with a message of empowerment. So the book summary that I've chosen to present today is entitled You Thrive. The book is entitled You Thrive, and it's by an author named Dr. Alan Schlechter. Dr. Alan Schlechter. So this book originally was designed for people entering into college, people in their last years of school but entering into college, or what we call, I think, university here in Australia. And it's basically a text that allows young adults who are developing to basically understand the risks and the opportunities that present themselves once they finish school and enter tertiary education. Because as I learnt as a young man, it is a balancing act between social and academic. And it's a fine line between doing too much of one and not enough of the other, and vice versa, and it not working out optimally for the person involved. So what I'll do is we've selected a few points to talk about, but the points that I've selected are ones which are a little bit more general, so we can apply them in various areas of our lives rather than talk about university, because those days for me are long gone. But they were some of the best years of my life, where I made some very, very good friends, experienced a lot of stress, and basically learnt more about myself than I guess any other period of my life. So the author kicks off the book with a warning for all of us, and that warning is that we need to not get lost. We need to not get lost in thinking traps of negativity, and to learn how to readjust and clear the filters that we've had built up over our lives, in order to live better and to get a more balanced worldview, I guess, is what we're trying to say. So the first formal point that the author comes up with and talks about, as you can see, I'm just walking alongside the creek here, which I think is heading towards Parramatta Lake. This creek may end up in Parramatta Lake, and I've got a feeling it does, but we'll just keep on walking and see where it takes us. So the first formal point to come out of this book is where the author encourages each and every one of us to play to our strong points, to play to our strengths, our talents, and our skills. Because when we're at school, when we're young, when we're at school, there is far too much emphasis placed on our weaknesses. We get our report cards, we take them home, and the first things our parents ask us is, why did you get a B or a C in maths or English, or why weren't you attentive in class? And they just focus on all the negatives. And I guess the encouragement is from our parents and others to make us perfect, to make us whole, and they try and get us, where possible, to build and work on our weaknesses. But what the author here is saying is that in reality, if you're going to achieve greatness in your life, you need to work on your strengths, know your strengths, make the most of your strengths, and not spend too much time focusing on your weaknesses, other than knowing what they are and trying to work on them for as long as you can, but not being overwhelmed and tied to them, I guess, is one way of describing it. So there's a nice little rock face here, which is really interesting. And I'll continue chatting, let these people come through. But that's the key point. The key point to come out of this book from the author. And I'll keep on chatting away. So the key message on this particular item here is that once you're in college, once you're into that early adulthood, we need to be able to find and identify what our strengths are. And to find your strengths, you need to do some soul searching, which is tricky as a young adolescent or as a young adult. But the key is to try and identify what you're good at, because as we said, school will tell you what you're not good at. School will keep on reminding you what your weaknesses are, but it won't give you a good look, a good view on what your strengths are. So it's pretty easy to identify what you're good at and what your strengths are, because we just have to look deep inside of ourselves and try and identify and remember all the things that we're really good at, all the things that we enjoy doing, all the things that we enjoy talking about, the things that we do, and times just drifts on by without even noticing that you've spent hours and hours indulging in your particular interest. So the author then goes on to say that we need to be discerning, and we need to spend time focusing on what's important to us and what we really enjoy, rather than what is popular to other people. Because we're not all the same. We've got different interests, we've got different strengths, we've got different abilities and capabilities. Just need to be careful here I don't slip over. There's a bit of moisture. And the author says that the world is full of people who are doing things that isn't really their calling, isn't really their forte, but they're doing it because it was popular. The parents wanted them to do it, the parents had done it, and they wanted their kids to follow in their footsteps. So from that perspective, it's really, really interesting to make sure that what you're doing and what you're focusing on is right for you and not just right for everybody else. Because the world is full of square pegs in round holes. I've worked for many years in high organisations that are leaders in their field, and you just see lots and lots of square pegs in round holes, people doing things that they didn't really like, and professions that are full of unpassionate people who just tick the box, do it, not because they love doing it, not because they're great at doing it, but it's something that they fell into it, and they just keep on doing it because it pays the bills. So the key message, the key call to action from this author is don't sign up for things that don't contribute to the person you want to be or the person you want to become in the future. Easier said than done, but you need to know, or you need to be able to identify and articulate and visualize who that person is. And if you don't know, then the risk is that you'll continue to just drift. I think I'm going the right way. the thing is, you'll continue to drift in life and head in a direction or drift in a direction where the current is taking you, but it may not necessarily be the place that you're destined to go and to the destination that you really want. So the next formal point that comes out of this book from this author is where they talk about keeping an open mind when it comes to new ideas and change. It's important to change, but it's important to make a distinction. Not all change is good, but you need to decide whether or not you're changing for improvement or you're changing just for the sake of changing. So the author then goes on to remind us, and I think we're all aware of this, that it's important not to have a narrow and a small circle of friends, because we need variety. We need to be able to push ourselves for growth and learning, and to do that we must live and push ourselves just outside our comfort zones, because just outside the comfort zone is a thing known as the wow zone. So there's a track going up there, and there's a track here pointing to Parramatta. So it's the footsteps track. So I'll continue along this one here to see where it takes us. But as the author says, we need to live outside our comfort zone, and more importantly, to just live and lean just outside our comfort zone, so that we're constantly bending, stretching and expanding ourselves to become better versions, or bigger, more capable versions of who we are. So in order to do that, the author says that we need constant feedback. We need to be learning from feedback. Both constructive and destructive feedback will give us something to contemplate and to think about. And as I said, and as the author says, we must welcome feedback. Not necessarily take it on board all the time, but at least to think about it and to judge for ourselves whether or not that feedback is going to help us or basically not help us, and to be guided by your intuition, by your guiding principles, and by the things that make you tick. And most importantly, by your goals, by your value set, and by your actions. And going on to the third point from this book, the author says that it's important to always strive for more by setting goals and sticking to them. Now, there's a lot of people who set goals, a lot of people who dream, a lot of people who say things and come up with things and give you the impression that they've got lots of dreams, lots of goals. But there's also lots of people who stop once they hit some rough water. Once they see a bump in the road, they get disheartened and distracted. But the author here is saying that every new environment, every new track, every new trail that you walk along, or better still, that you create for yourself, is uncomfortable, because we all want to live a sense of belonging. We all want to live a sense of being part of a community and being comfortable. But there's no such thing, according to this author, as being comfortable and being able to progress and grow and develop. So we need times of challenge. And the author says here something which is really big. He says that with time, regardless of what you do, with time, sooner or later, let me just get across here without slipping over, sooner or later, you'll become an expert at it. If you keep on practicing, and being involved with purposeful practicing. And I guess the biggest point to come out of this book, the point that I love the most, is where he says that you don't have to be a genius, you don't have to be brilliant, you don't have to be gifted with talents and skills which are the best in the world. Because he says here that geniuses, not all geniuses make it to the top, not all geniuses stand out, not all geniuses are happy, productive, and not all geniuses are the ones that we need to use as role models, because of their genius, a lot of them lack social and adaptive skills. They're gifted with skills, but they're lacking in other graces, with other charismata, and they remain undiscovered for their entire lifetime. How many times we were at school and we had people around us, and you said to yourself, oh, this person here is going to be awesome at football, he's going to be great at this, he's going to be great at that, he's going to be a prime minister one day, and they end up not achieving that vision that you may have had for them. It's just really interesting. It's a really interesting point, and a really powerful point, a profound point, to say that geniuses lack their social skills and adaptability, which may hinder their progress. So don't get overwhelmed, don't look down upon yourself if you don't have all the skills of your peers, because it's a package that the author is talking about. We need to have a package, and that package includes social ability, ability to adapt, to morph, to change, and each person has different portions of those additional skills that they can use to help them in their path, in their journey. So there you go. A wonderful book. Thank you very much for joining me on this episode of Jim's 5am Club, where we're going on a beautiful bushwalk. I'm doing this track for the first time. Don't know where it's going to lead me. The sign said Parramatta, but I'll take it for as long as I can, because I do have a couple of book summaries to do today. And I look forward to coming to you again from a different location with a different message of empowerment, where we can live, learn, and pass on whatever we have, because we know that we need to be life learners, and the best way to learn, of course, is through experience, but we only get to experience a slither of reality in our lives. So therefore, the next best way to learn is through OPE, other people's experience, where we can learn from their experiences, because as we said, we don't all get to view the same slither of life, and by piecing together lots of slithers, we can get a better worldview, and a worldview that's more productive for us, and can empower us and help us when we come to a point where we don't know what to do. We can always call upon the OPE, the other people's experience that we've learnt without having any risk along the way. So thank you. I look forward for us to continue our journeys, to be partners in each other's growth and development, and to see where our paths lead, and hopefully one day for our paths to come together and we can take a stroll through life in parallel, for a short journey, for a long journey. Who knows what fate calls for, but to make the most of our lives and to be examples and role models to those around us, to empower them, to give them strength, to want to take on the challenges of life rather than living in fear and frozen by procrastination. Take care, yasas, and we'll chat again. Bye.